Jurassic World. I guess we need to take this up. Jurassic World Dominion. I just saw this movie. On first glance, if I were to admit, I have to actually go see this movie again, only to make sure that what I actually saw in the movie theater is what I saw. Now, if I were to give this a ranking, I would rank this as a five, in the scale of Jurassic Park movies. So this is the fifth best movie out of all six. So I'd rank number one as the all time best. Then I would probably go Jurassic World only because it's more or less a shut off your brain and watch and consume movie. So I'd put that one second because that one has a lot of rewatchability to me. Then I'd put Jurassic Park 2, then probably number 3. Afterwards would come this one, and then Fallen Kingdom. I think they just completely messed everything up. Now, with all that said, this movie does take place in the current timeline of Jurassic Park movies, continuing on after the fallout of Fallen Kingdom, and we are currently in the present day. Now, if you do not want spoilers to this movie, I'm gonna give everyone a second to remove yourself from this video because I'm gonna be spoiling this for you, right? So I'll give you all a second. We're good? All right. With that said, everyone is in this. I'm talking Claire. It was already ruined that Claire, Alan Grant, and Ian were coming back. Now the concern on everyone's mind was what kind of role are they going to play in this movie? And the kind of role, it's actually a lot of shared screen time. I was surprised, and in all honesty, they were probably for nostalgia reasons my favorite things to view when I was watching this movie in total, because Alan, Ian, and Claire, no, Alan, Ian, and Dr. Ellie Sattler, I like how they all vibe off of one another. You could tell that, age has hit them all, right? But not for the most part. I think they did a fine job. They did not give them as much lines as before, but they still played a very huge part in the overall spectrum of the storyline, right? It's a lot of shared screen time between Owen, between Claire, and some new characters, and Alan, Ellie, and Ian. At one point, all of them meet up, and then you get the whole introduction of the old meeting the new. The main characters in this, if I were to put anyone as a standout character, I would probably have to say that the standout character in this entire story is probably, like, I want to say Blue, but as usual, yeah, it's Chris Pratt, right? Um, Chris Pratt, he is more than likely he's more than likely the best thing in this movie going now, right? That's been established since Jurassic World, and it continues along through here. There's really three main storylines while you're following this movie. The one storyline is Maisie's kidnapping. The other storyline is Blue's baby raptor's kidnapping, and then the situation with the new company that has taken over from InGen, which is now Biosyn, right? Another company all of a sudden thinks that they have found the secret recipe to control these animals, these creatures, these dinosaurs. And so those are the three storylines that we're playing off of. There's a rescue mission to rescue Maisie. There's a rescue mission to rescue Blue's baby dinosaur, and of course they have to stop Biosyn from doing what they're going to do in this world. Biosyn has figured out the secret recipe to get a hold of these creatures, right? Now, there are some things that I like about this storyline. There's some things that I don't like, and we'll get into all of that. But if I were to give you guys a just a general breakdown, you know that from the ending of Fallen Kingdom to where we are right now, the movie ended in Fallen Kingdom with Maisie deciding, for whatever reason, to release the dinosaurs into the open world, and that's how the movie ended. Now the dinosaurs are roaming in with humankind. They're interacting with humankind, and this is somewhat of what we get to see. That honestly is one of my favorite points of this entire flick, right? I like the way that the dinosaurs interacted with humanity, right? I like the way the dinosaurs were interacting with wildlife. Even there's one particular scene where Blue is hunting a rabbit, and I believe it was a black panther, was a panther that came out of nowhere and attacked the same rabbit that Blue was looking to capture. And Blue's automatic reaction was to go kill the panther, right? It was either a panther or a leopard, one of the two. Um, there's also the movie also opens up with Owen, who is now he's a not a cattle wrangler, but yeah, he's wrangling dinosaurs. So dinosaurs are roaming around in this world very much in the same way that cattle would, and so he's wrangling them and herding them and bringing them to where he needs to bring them, right? Um, they are they are going through their own situations. Like at one point, I believe it's called a brontosaurus, brachiosaurus, just the one with the really long neck, right? By me saying that they're going through their own little situations, what I necessarily mean with that is there's a particular scene, and I appreciated this scene because it really highlighted the struggles of the dinosaurs themselves and the kind of problems that they're having with this new world, right? A brontosaurus finds itself stuck in a construction site and it doesn't know what to do. And Maisie, after seeing this thing, starts speaking to some of the construction workers, and one of them grabs one of the large rigs and starts honking at it, and the sound sounds so familiar to the brontosaurus that it actually pays attention to it and starts following it on its way out. So you could see at one point it was actually stuck, and because of that noise, because the pitch sounded very similar to the noise that it makes, it found itself with some comfort to kind of follow this machine on its way out, so they safely let it out into the wild again, right? I like that, those little touches, right? That's some of the good notes. Some of the bad notes in this movie, though, this was typical, and this is another thing that I appreciated with this, right? The underground dinosaur fights that were happening out in another scene. There's almost like an underground world where where there would normally be like pit bull fighting or cockfighting or animal fighting. In this case, it's raptor versus raptor. So creature versus creature. Whichever creature you own, you could pit it against another creature, and people are betting and gambling on these creatures to see which one would win. Now, in terms of characters, Alan, he's still doing his archaeology thing. Ellie, she has more or less become she's more or less divorced from her husband. Her kids are now grown up, but she now goes to see Alan so that he can assist her in taking down this company Biosyn. Ian Malcolm, he is working for this company Biosyn because he believes, as you learn later on, that Biosyn is up to something. So he found a way to get inside using his own clout and his own reputation to become a professor of some sort in Biosyn to educate the next generation. And as he's on hire for them, he has access that people would not necessarily have, which is beneficial for him, of course, right? Owen, like I said, he's a dinosaur wrangler. Claire, she's doing her own thing, and of course Maisie's living with them now, but they're living in the deeper part of the woods. They still interact, but Maisie's kind of going through a bit of a rebellious phase. Didn't really appreciate that. I thought that she would have been a little bit more grateful to Claire and Ian for the kind of work that they had done for her, especially given the fact that the situation she was in Fallen Kingdom. I mean, she could have turned out a lot worse, right? So dinosaurs are just causing chaos and finding out how to navigate this world that we live in. You saw some of this in the Battle of Big Rock, where the two dinosaurs were fighting, and it was just in the middle of a regular campsite. This is to illustrate the further point that they are here, and they're here to stay, and they're here to interact. Same thing continues on throughout the end of the movie. Regarding the acting, Honestly, I thought the acting was fine. There were a couple of jokes that didn't really land with me. There, I thought the acting was fine for the most part. I mean, everyone delivered. It wasn't top tier, but it wasn't their worst showing. I I think the most annoying of all was probably Maisie, just because of that whole rebellious thing that she's doing with Claire. I really didn't appreciate that at all. Right now, a couple of callbacks, obviously. Right, um, like Ellie when she used the line, "This is right up it's right up your alley," or "This is right up our alley." That's a callback to John Hammond when he first introduces himself after he goes to see Alan and Ellie on their dig, and he says, and they ask him, "Well, what kind of park are you making?" And he says, "Well, it's right up your alley," right? And Ellie is found saying that exact same line. In terms of the dinosaurs, there's a lot of other callbacks, right? The I think it's the Laposaurus. I think that's the name of it, the Laposaurus. It's the one with the it's the one that killed Nedrick, right? The one that killed Nedrick. One with the almost wings on its neck, or the scales on its neck that expand. That one. There's a huge callback to that as well. And I appreciated the fact that they brought some if not most of those dinosaurs back. It really did help the storyline go through. Now, a couple of things that I like. Again, the old group, really love seeing all those guys back together. I love the fact that when Ian is teaching, Alan and Ellie walk in, and as he's teaching, and once he concludes his class, he's signing a couple of autographs and notices Alan and Ellie, and that's the first time that you actually get to see the old Jurassic Park group together again. I don't believe any of them have actually interacted with one another since the first movie. Yeah, I actually don't believe so, right? Because in Jurassic Park 2, it was strictly about Ian, and Jurassic Park 3, it was Alan and Ellie played a little part, but Jurassic Park 4 was Chris Pratt, 5 was Chris Pratt again, and Claire, and then, yeah, this is their first time for the most part. The environment, I have to really compliment whoever created this set. These sets are beautiful. It's boggy, it's dim. There's minimal lighting, so you get to feel a lot of the tension because you almost anticipate that anything at any point could happen. Right? There's lots of different settings, whether they're in the cold, whether they're on ice, whether they're in the deeps of the forest, whether they're in Biosyn even, right? I love the way that this whole world is really built up, and the way that this place looks. It looks so grimy, and it looks so foresty. I love the way that they transition from one place to the next place and to the next place. All of that, I really appreciate how this was done, especially, and I will never get sick of this. The music score. I love the music score for Jurassic Park. That dun na 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 na. I love it. Absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. They made sure that you understood that they're gonna be playing this theme throughout the movie. And hey, you know what? All the more power to them. I really did appreciate when they played these. Now, um, Henry Wu. I think Henry Wu, the character of Henry Wu, came off as honestly repentant. There was a lot of pain. There was a lot of pain that I got from that guy, that he was seriously regretful and remorseful for the damage that he had done. Like, it finally hit him, the level of damage that he had done to this world, knowing that he was the engineer that created all of this. In every distinctive movie, Henry Wu has always played a part in the middle, right? He's always been that center focus. And that's not something that you really catch on to within the first movie, because he's not really a center character. But in this one, they still don't give him as much screen time, but you get the understanding that his character has gone through a lot. He looks like a frustrated individual. He looks like a character now that has seen a lot of pain and seen the error of his ways, and is now just looking to make amends after all of the damage that he's done. he's finally brought forward as a repentant character. When you see the movie, you'll understand exactly what it is that I mean, right? Because there's a lot of hurt on his face, and the character Henry really did bring that forward. I believe his name is BD Wong. He did a fantastic job of just driving home like the way that he wants to fix things. Now, with all that said, that's some of the things that I like about this. Some of the things that I don't like was quite a lot, in all honesty. Um, One of the things that I really didn't like was the unrealistic notion that the army couldn't just put all of this to rest. I get it that the UN at the end of the movie had stepped in, but I consider it to be unrealistic, totally unrealistic, that after people are getting killed, there's underground dinosaur fights. Uh, people are being attacked. Dinosaurs, predators at that, like Blue, are running wild, and they're very prone to attacking humans if they feel threatened, or if a human were to walk in their direction, they will attack. I find it very hard to believe that the army didn't step in at some point. I really find that hard to believe that the world's army at some point did not vanquish these creatures. The fact that you're sharing a world with these kind of predators really puts you at the bottom of the food chain if you're not going to utilize your weapons that would give you an advantage. Another thing I didn't like, the 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 constant trope that this new organization, this new company, this new owner, this new billionaire all of a sudden decides that, everyone else did it wrong, but I found the secret recipe to do this to do this recipe right. Biosyn, Biosyn as an organization and the owner found that he has the wherewithal to now do this properly. The gentleman's name is Lewis Dodgson, right? It's played by Campbell Scott. He's the CEO of Biosyn, and he believes that he can actually control these creatures. He believes that his method of engineering, genetics, is the key is the key formula. He believes that he can actually put things right where everyone else has messed up. Hammond has messed up. All the other people that followed Hammond messed up. So I don't really understand how they can go with that same formula and think that actually works. It's been proven time and time again that it just doesn't, right? Another thing I didn't appreciate, and this is just unrealistic, and you guys tell me this, if you guys tell me what you think. This is actually seen in the trailer, so this is not really that much of a spoiler. The Raptors chasing a motorcycle. The last time I checked, the last time I checked, Raptors were clocked at what, 35, 40 kilometers, if that, at top speed. So if Raptors are clocked at 35 to 40 kilometers top speed, how is it that Owen's motorcycle can't outrun them? Are you telling me that that little chase scene that Owen was running away from the Raptors, he was only driving at 40 kilometers an hour? Are you telling me that the Raptors aren't getting winded? Are you telling me that the Raptors just have endless amounts of energy to be chasing around corridors and around corners, like they don't get tired? Like they're not like cheetahs that can go at top speed for a certain amount of time and then wear out and then just need to sit down because they're exhausted? That was totally unrealistic because they're chasing Owen around this city, and they're just keeping up with him. Actually, at one point in time, they're actually moving faster than his motorcycle that I know can get up to at least 60 to 70. So there's no explanation on earth that could show me that these things could keep on par with his motorcycle unless he was going at a speed that was lower than their minimal average speed. Like that just seemed to just take me out the movie, and just it made me just kind of shake my head and go, are you serious? Come on, man. Like if I if you ask me to shut off my brain, I could shut off my brain and just enjoy the movie for a bit, but at some point, you're gonna have to think these things through and ask yourself, like, is this totally realistic or is it just not? Right? Um, Now another thing that took me out of the movie was the irrational use of plot armor. Oh my goodness. In the majority of scenes where there is some level of tension, and there were quite a few, the tension the tension in which the dinosaurs are hunting humans or trying to surround a human and damn near cornering them to the point where they are seconds, if not a second, away from being snagged and being killed. And miraculously, the star always survives. In the trailer, if you remember the trailer, there's one particular scene where they're driving around, where Owen is driving around the city, and one guy who's foolishly on a Segway for whatever reason gets eaten by a dinosaur. Cool, no problem. He's a background character. Gotcha. But how is it that Owen could fall into a sheet of ice, can fall into a pool or pond or whichever, lake, whatever, right? Of ice water, freezing water, seemingly immobilized in with this creature that's underwater with him that could swim much faster than he can, and he gets snagged out. He gets pulled out by an individual that's with him, right? One of the women that he hired, one of the women that they hired to rescue Maisie, she manages to pull Owen outside of the water before this creature, who's right at his feet, before this creature could pull him out, before this creature could pull him under the water and consume him. Now, that to me, it just made me shake my head and just say, okay, well, yeah, it's plot armor. Of course it's plot armor. They can't kill Owen. In a realistic situation, they would have killed Owen. I would have actually applauded them if they killed Owen, because I would have said, okay, if this and that and this person can die, that ups the stakes, because now what it does is it raises the tension. And now all of a sudden I start to think, anyone can die. If he can die or if she can die, anyone can die. Another example, Claire somehow is surrounded by the same creatures, and I'm gonna have to actually look these up, right? Claire is surrounded at one point by the same creatures that killed Nedrick. Now, the same one with the neck. I'm actually gonna look this up because I'm sick of calling them creatures. Another individual that falls victim, in my opinion, to the trope of plot armor is Claire, and this happens twice with her. And I didn't like how it happened at all, because it just shows that the stars will always survive these movies. But if they had done what would be logically consistent, then she should have been gone on multiple occasions. The Dilophosaurus. You remember this creature? If you really do remember this creature, it killed Nedrick, right? Nedrick was the IT lead in Jurassic Park 1. It cornered him, it spit its stuff in his eyes, and then it did what it needed to do. It consumed him, it ate him, and killed him, right? Naturally, that's what's supposed to happen. Claire is not, that was one. Claire is not surrounded by one. She's not surrounded by two. She's surrounded by three of these things. And with all three, they surround her. They didn't spit anything in her eyes, so she comes face to face with one of these things, and it's just looking at her. And before it can lunge at her, what happens? She's rescued by Owen. Plot armor. Of course, plot armor, because you can't kill the main characters. And to me, that just took me out again. And it's these little things that keep on taking me out of the movie. And it really just makes me say, in any other situation, if that was another character, that character would have died to increase the tension of the story. There's another scene now, same person, Claire, when they're flying the planes, as you know, they're attacked by a couple of pterodactyls. And at that same time, Owen tells Claire to release her parachute. When she releases her parachute, those same pterodactyls are swarming around her. One of them even hits her parachute. Now, before they hit her parachute, two or three of them actually made a swipe at her. Now, the thing that really seemed unrealistic to me is, at what point did these creatures determine that they all of a sudden have bad aim? They've had good aim up until, if you notice in the beginning in the movie when they're talking about how dinosaurs are interacting with humans, a couple of people released some doves during their wedding, and those same pterodactyls came and swooped those doves up. So are you telling me that Claire, who's sitting in a seat, prone, all of a sudden now she just moves her face back, and that's enough for the pterodactyls to miss her? And on another occasion, she just tilts to the side a little bit, and that's enough for the pterodactyl to miss her? Come on. That's just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Because that's plot armor now. And even when she lands, she's face to face with another bird-like, large creature. And somehow, some way, she just manages to go into the water. We saw this in the trailer as well. She crawls into the water, and this thing hovers right around her, and it hovers right above her, and before actually, lunging into the water and grabbing her, it does nothing. Doesn't take a drink, doesn't try to reach into the water to see maybe if she's there, doesn't stick its tongue in the water. All it does is just go, scream a little bit, and then raise its head up and then walk off. And I just said, are you serious? That's just ridiculous to me. It's a little ridiculous. It's a little ridiculous to me, because it just seems to reduce the tension, because I know at the end of the movie, all the stars are going to survive. Jurassic Park 1 did the same thing. The main characters, John Hammond, Ian, Alan, Ellie, they were the subject of plot armor as well. Timmy and I believe her name is Asher Ellie as well, right? Now, they were the subject of plot armor as well, every single one of them, but they controlled the plot armor in such a way that you felt tension, and you still feel tension even after you watch this movie. It wasn't irrational why the kids survived. The kids were actually subject to getting hurt. At one point, Timmy almost died because he wouldn't come off the fence. The stakes were real. The stakes felt real, and the movie felt logical, right? Yes, it's a fantasy movie, but it still felt like it actually made sense. In this, you just automatically know, well, they can't kill the main characters because they can't kill the main characters because they can't kill the main characters. Another thing I really didn't appreciate, the seemingly forced relationship that now all of a sudden is established between Ellie and Dr. Allen. There was the kind of will they, won't they situation happening in Jurassic Park 1, but it wasn't really something that they needed to use to sell the movie as well. In that instance, yes, you got the idea that maybe at some point Ellie and Alan might actually happen, but you have Ian in the middle as well, right? Who's of course making his pass at Ellie, but that's not what was used to sell the movie. What was used to sell the movie was an establishment that there was a mutual level of respect for for their own professions. He treated her like a professional, and you saw her interacting as a professional, and she treated him like a professional. It wasn't ever established that there was going to be anything more between the two of them. It was established that they were friends, they were colleagues, they had a mutual understanding towards one another, and they had a mutual respect for one another, especially given their jobs. What happens here is now there's a relationship forming. There's a Ellie who's now a divorcee. Now she has established something with Alan, and it didn't really seem like it was earned. Almost, it really didn't seem like it was something that was earned in this movie. For the most part, it just felt like they kind of shoehorned it in to really sell home a last second kiss, right? Just to establish the whole love trope by the end of the movie. The way they brought back every dinosaur, I'm fine with the way that the dinosaurs looked, but I thought a lot of that was for nostalgia. The one thing that that really upset me in this movie was the T-Rex roar. The must-have T-Rex roar at the end of the movie. It's something that they did in Jurassic Park 1, felt earned, right? Something they did in Jurassic Park 2 and 3, 4 they did it, and I don't think they did it in 5 as well. They did it in 5. Actually, no, they did do it in 5. But in 5, they did it at the beginning of the movie. In this, I could not believe it when I couldn't believe it when I saw them do the I didn't hear any bell moment. So the Allosaurus is fighting the T-Rex, and the same creature that was hunting Claire when she was underwater, that has now gone on to fight the Allosaurus. Why? Because the T-Rex and the Allosaurus were fighting, establishing dominance. The group has now run off, and while they're trying to establish dominance over the other, the Allosaurus, of course, is victorious. Why? Because it's bigger, it's stronger, it's a little faster as well. That creature that was hunting Claire comes onto the scene, and there's a focus, and I could not believe they did this. This thing focuses, the camera focuses on the T-Rex's eyes. As the T-Rex is unconscious, it opens its eyes, kind of like while it's down, almost as if it's saying, "Hey, Allosaurus, I didn't hear no bell." I couldn't believe they copied Rocky. I couldn't believe they copied Rocky. If you haven't seen that scene with Rocky, go watch it. It's when he's fighting Tommy. After Tommy knocks him onto the ground, yeah, he gets up, and then he says, "Tommy, I didn't hear no bell." I could not believe it. I almost walked out the theater for how mad I was when I saw that, because that to me, the way that these movies, the way these movies are pieced together from Jurassic Park 1 to now, complete night and day. I will always have respect for the first Jurassic Park. The level of rewatchability on that movie cannot be topped. This nonsense, I can't explain this. I really can't explain this. The way that they do things nowadays, I have no understanding for. Owen is another one. Owen, it was already established that in Jurassic World, he has a level of understanding. I don't want to say the word control. He has a level of understanding with the raptors. He's built a relationship with them, and off of that relationship, he can establish a level of control. And that level of control is because he's seen as the alpha of the pack. And since he's seen as the alpha of the pack, the move that he has where he sticks his hands out, and there's a distance that is kept between them to where he can now rationalize with the raptors. He can't control them, but he can rationalize with them to get them to do certain things. This is something that's also copied by Maisie, Blue's child, who's about to attack Alan. She takes on that idea that if Owen can do it, and I've seen him do it, well, why can't I try it? So she goes about now trying the same technique. What I didn't like with that, I know for a fact that must have taken Owen years to develop that kind of relationship. What reason does this raptor have to listen to Maisie? What, because she fed him once? She fed him twice, maybe? Or because he's captured? They saw each other once. In the beginning of the movie, she runs into the baby. Now, after that, it's never really shown that they have some kind of respect for one another, like how Blue and Owen have a relationship. That's never established. So why is Maisie trying this? If in all actuality, she should have spoken and that raptor should have attacked. Why? Because that creature is not trained. Blue is trained. Blue was taught. Blue was taught from a baby to have some level of relationship with Owen. This thing is not taught. It's not trained. It's not. It's nothing. It's just a bare raptor. So her trying to establish dominance in any way should not have worked. It doesn't work the same way that it does with Owen. That's another. That was another thing. Now, overall, like I said, the overall plot really just focuses on three different areas. Blue's baby raptor is kidnapped. Biosyn is looking to do a thing with genetics, and Maisie is kidnapped, and then of course they have to go on their rescue mission. If I were to really hunker down on these movies and just say what the problem is, I think the problem is that they lost him. I think the problem is they've gone away from logic to just wash, rinse, and repeat. Right? They got a formula that worked in the first one, and they've tried so many times to duplicate that same formula that it doesn't hurt the first movie, but it does hurt the ones that follow. Why? Because you always need to go bigger, badder, better to regain people's attentions. People aren't tired of the first Jurassic Park movie. Why? Because the first Jurassic Park movie took itself serious to the same notion, like I've always stated. These movies, they actually have gone where they think people have become bored with dinosaurs. The same problem that the park has is the same problem that they think we have. They treat us like if we are bored with dinosaurs, so therefore we always need to go bigger, faster, badder, stronger, as opposed to just going logical. Jurassic Park focused itself on being logical. It actually tried to explain a story. It tried to show you problems. It tried to show you the problem that you could have when you go too far. And it asked the question, like I asked before, just because you could, does that necessarily mean that you should? These have gone away from that and instead gone a completely different direction that focuses itself on bigger, better. We need to be bigger. We need to be better than the last one. The T-Rex to me was enough. The raptors to me were enough because they had established that those are the primary carnivores. Those are the primary carnivores that will build tension in these movies. Where in this case now, they need to make carnivores that look in this way, that look like this, and that need more teeth, and that need more teeth in this case. So you have the T-Rex, but it's the T-Rex times 5. And then, especially in movies like Jurassic World, you have the T-Rex, but you have the T-Rex, then you have the raptor. Then it's cloned with cuttlefish as well. And then you have this other creature that's cloned with snake genes. And it's just gotten so crazy that it just made this whole thing just seem meh. And that's the unfortunate part about all of this. That very first Jurassic Park movie created something, and it went along a timeline that I think cannot be duplicated. And though they closed off this movie by saying it's Dominion, and though they show how the dinosaurs are now interacting with other species and making their own way, I don't think that they'll ever be able to replicate this again. I don't think that they'll ever get to a point where they'll be able to create that same lightning in a bottle, or that same lightning effect that they had within the first one. And that to me is a real shame. If I were to give this movie a ranking, I cannot believe I'm doing this for a Jurassic Park movie because I absolutely love dinosaurs. I absolutely love Jurassic Park. The first movie, I gave it a 10. I know there's problems with it, but I gave it a 10. This one, I'm giving this a 5. I'm giving this a clear 5 out of 5. And a lot of this is mainly because of how much nostalgia there was. Yes, they did. Thank goodness, at least they didn't show me the goggles. Thank you for not showing me the same Jeep. Thank you for not showing me the sign of the old Jurassic Park. But at the same time, you did bring back all the characters. So I'll give them that one. And while I appreciate all of that, it's not enough for me to say that this is a good movie. This is just okay. It's okay for the most part. And that, after 6 movies, 2022 is a real shame. That's what your ranking is. I'll see you guys later.